Hello, my name is Christina Epps, and this is my book talk. For my book talk, I decided to choose a kid's book called The Impudent Rooster. This is actually written by someone I vaguely knew. I got the story from when I was actually babysitting some kids, and they asked to read it all the time, so I got very familiar with it. It's a lovely story, but for some background on it, it's actually adapted by Sabina Rascol, and she actually got this from a Romanian folktale. It's very known. She likened it to kind of like Cinderella, where you just kind of know it, even if it's a slightly different version. And for this book talk, it was actually great because I got to interview her personally, since she's in my community, and so she adapted it by Ion Crenga, who was a famous Romanian folktale storyteller and stuff like that. So he had a very similar story that was well known. So this is why a lot of Romanians would know it. He was a famous storyteller who first wrote it. He wrote other things as well, and it was just very famous. So Sabina, who adapted it, did change a few things. As a lot of folktale stories, they were a little bit more graphic. So she made it a little bit more kid-friendly in some ways, and also just really took a fun spin on the English language in this story. She was able to, well, we'll see as I tell it. So here's the cover. And it's a very large rooster, and we'll see why that is in this minute. So the story begins with an old man and his rooster, and they're very poor, and he's reaching a crucial point in his life, and he snaps at his rooster and like, why aren't you a hen? At least you could give me an egg, because I wouldn't be so hungry. So because of this, the rooster leaves, and he's sad, and he wants to help his master, and so he finds a little parcel of money, and he's so proud to give it to his master, but a rich nobleman comes and takes it, even though he has no need of it. And so the whole story is about him chasing this rich nobleman down to try and get it back, because he knows it's not fair. And anything that the rich nobleman has his men do or he does to him, he survives. So, for example, he throws him in a gold dungeon to be suffocated, basically, from all the treasure. And instead of suffocating, he eats all of the gold until there's none left. And so he becomes bigger. And then the next part is the nobleman decides to put him in a pasture so he'll be trampled, but instead he eats the cows. And so every time he does something to him, he just finds some way to get out, and supernaturally, of course. And so he eats the cows, and finally he gets to be so big, and the nobleman can't do anything. So in the end, the nobleman is left in his castle, but working by himself, because he can't afford to have any help anymore, because the rooster took all that he had. And so the rooster leads a charge of fowl, you can see that, back to his master's house. And before his master even knows all this, he goes up to him and forgives and says he's sorry for treating him that way. And then the rooster is able to bless him with everything that he swallowed. And so now he is a rich man. And there's a little twist with the neighbor woman who told him originally very bad advice. So I just loved this story. Even before this book talk was required, I liked reading it. It was fun to read. It had lots of parts where you could like yell or say fast or different adjectives when describing all the noise of the geese and ducks and all that. They had a lot of adjectives. So those are always fun to list off and stuff like that. So I really liked it in that way. And fun fact about the illustrator, usually illustrators and authors don't directly talk, and they go through the editor, but Sabina, the author, when she said she got the illustrations back, she said it looked exactly like northern Romania, which is where she was from, and that was really cool to her that they were able to actually get very accurate to Romania. So I really like this book. It's very long, and I think kids' books tend to be shorter, and so I think this just proves that it doesn't have to be. It's very entertaining. Um, the kids I babysat who asked for it all the time, yeah, they asked for it and they liked it, and I would do different voices. And so in a classroom setting, I think this would be a really great book. The illustrations are great, but also for the story itself, there's a lot of good things to pull out of it. By treating people nicely and forgiveness, what that actually means, and treating people fairly, and what kind of consequences also when you don't treat people fairly. So I really enjoyed learning about this because I interviewed her. I actually learned a lot more than I'm able to put in this book talk today. So I really enjoyed just learning about this book and the context behind it. And yeah, thanks for watching.